Hello everyone, my name is Raul Perez and I'm back for another video. This time I'm going to be explaining all the different file formats you can export in Blender because you can import and export so many types of files and each one have different data that it carries, so it's important to know that depending on your project what kind of file you want to work with and what would be the easiest and more accessible for other people to either work on or to view. Here I have an FBX file, and these kind of is like the jack of all trades in regards to these file formats, because they hold like mesh data, lighting, well not lighting, but coloring, textures, materials, animations, and rigging. So you see here I have kind of like this gaming chair model, but of course if I turn on like the material preview, you can see that it already had its colors installed. Unlike the OBJ, I didn't have to go into like my files to import the texture files onto this model. And of course, if I press the F12 button, you can see here just a closer look at the model itself. It's really like sharp and clean. So it's just a more intensive file format. And this kind of format is really helpful for the gaming industry, since it already has all that kind of data built into it already. And it's really useful for working with like AR and VR types of mediums too. Uh, Here I have a GLFT file, or it can also be abbreviated as GLB. And these files, they're really great for web-based viewing of your 3D models, because if you have too heavy of a file, then it could really slow down the performance on a website. But these models are also commonly used in Unity and Unreal Engine for assets in their game engines. And if I just pop into here in the render, you can see that it's very detailed if you want it to be. You could also make it simpler, again, for web-based viewing as well. The next type of file format that I'm going to cover is Alembic, and it is abbreviated as .abc when you save a file. And what this kind of file format saves is geometry and animations. But you do have to keep in mind that when I'm referring to animations in this case, it will not include like rigging or lighting data. And the reason for this is that it's mostly designed to streamline work between different departments in animation or game studios. And the quick example I can give is that one department is going to develop 3D models for an animated film, and once you get like the animations kind of like done roughly, they're going to save an Alembic file and they're going to send it over to the lighting and like effects department. And so the lighting department's not interested at all with like the tiny minuscule details of like geometry and how the rigs are set in the hands or like the torso of characters. Instead, they just work with getting the lighting done correctly. Simulations can be done at this point with like smoke, fluids, and stuff like that. And so if I play what is loaded here in my Blender file, you can see that I just have a simple looping 10-frame animation of this like mesh folding up and down. And this is what the department would receive. There's no rigs in this. It's just the geometry and its movement. And from there, if I wanted to, I could adjust like the lighting and add other effects to it. The next type of file that I'm going to cover are SVGs, which stands for the Scalable Vector Graphics. Because Blender has a tool called the Grease Pencil tool, which lets you kind of like draw in like 2D, which is used for like storyboarding or for like 2D animations or like comics that you want to do in Blender. And here I just imported another like SVG file, and you can see that it's kind of like a flat image. So if I like rotate around it, you see how like flat it is. And if I go to the camera view, you can see that this is what the camera would see, and it's just almost like a PNG or like a PDF of sorts. That's like the closest comparison I could find. And so you would only, this doesn't support animation, it just supports again graphics. Most comparable thing would be a PDF file, which by the way, you can also save these type of files as PDF files and export them directly from Blender as well. And depending on your use case, this could be the most efficient way. It doesn't use a lot of data. It's pretty small. And again, you get sharp lines no matter how big or small you scale your object. The next file format that I'm going to cover are wavefont files, or they're abbreviated as .objs. And what these do is that they can handle geometry, but as well as that, they can also handle materials and textures. Um, and so you can see here how this captain's hat's all like very plain, but this black is like a material, and then this white's a different one. And like I said, texture, you see this little square here. You do have to kind of like add in their textures. Like here, I have like a block here that calls on a texture file that I have saved on my computer to install, place it on top of this like geometry here. So if I press F12 to enter a render view, you can see that I have the captain's hat here, and that plain like empty spot now has this emblem on it. So that just goes to show that OBJs, they cannot support lighting, cameras, animations, or simulations at all. They just work for geometry and some texturing and some materials as well. What I have here is an STL file, and these files are really good at capturing geometry, but however, they don't really support textures or materials or any coloring at all, which is why this model that I have here is all like the same color, the same like, there's no color on it at all. And the main use of these type of files are for 3D printing. That is the main application. And it's great for like prototypes. Because again, you're not concerned with the aesthetic of it. You're just more concerned with the build quality of it. So you see how this model has very tiny parts. Well, this kind of file is really good at maintaining the geometry secure for you to be able to use it. Here I have a BVH file, which stands for BioVision Hierarchy. And what this file format mostly deals with is with motion capture, from like motion capture suits. And with this, again, as you can see here, you mostly just have the data from the rig here, like the ball and the joints. And you could, of course, insert this into a model that you've made in order to make the move for an animation that you're working on. Just as you can see, if I press space here, he's doing a little like breakdancing gesture. And so there's always another tool in your arsenal when you're working with Blender. And with that, that has been kind of like a very general quick overview of all the different types of file formats, at least the significant differences that I thought would be important to mention upfront for students or anyone trying to learn Blender. As for some of the models that I use in here, I downloaded them off of Sketchfab, and so I have credited the artist in the description, just to give credit where it's due. And with that, that will conclude this video, and I hope that you guys have a great day.